For my first ever Haley is a Reading video, I'm going to be talking about books that I did for Booktober last year, because that is the first ever official Haley is a Reading video I made, but it never came out. I basically just didn't get around editing it, and by the time I did, it was past October, and it didn't seem like a good time. But I love these books that I read, and I want to still talk about them, and I thought now would be the perfect time. So the first book that I'm going to be talking about is called All I Know Now by Carrie Hope Fletcher. Carrie Hope Fletcher is a YouTuber who basically started this whole challenge. She is the one who introduced me to the idea of Booktober and reading one book each week for a month, which, as a slow reader myself, that was a tremendous challenge. Almost as much of a challenge as making a YouTube video every day for a month. But I'm so happy I did. It was hectic and I felt crazy and very stressed and pressured, but I tend to work better that way because I was like, oh, gotta get this done. But I work better that way and I love doing it. I wish I had time to this year, but I will next year. All I Know Now is basically an advice book from Carrie. Carrie, at least before, I'm not sure as much now, but it was known as like basically everyone's big sister. She would always give advice to people. She would always just answer your questions. She had this blog called All I Know Now, and it's basically these stories that teach her life lessons, and she wants to pass it down on other girls who might be going through the same thing and don't know what to do. And it's a lot of really fun stories. It's got all these like little pictures in it that she has drawn and just little things. It's interesting to read about someone else's experiences. They're split up into like sections, acts, and then it has further chapters. Like Act 1 is how to make friends without vomiting on their shoes and other school stories. And Scene 1 is first, Scene 2, making friends, 3, work versus play, 4, asking questions, 5, making mistakes, and 6, how to apologize. And it goes on like that, and it has stories for each one, and just if you want advice, or if you're just starting out high school, or even most people who are watching it are juniors, sophomores, but anyone who, if you're a girl at least, I would recommend reading this book. I'm not sure if they still sell it anymore, but I love Carrie Hope Fletcher. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, and I just think she's great. And just hearing about her life experiences and how she became who she is now, and I just think that's great to read because I really admire her so much. If you want to check out her YouTube channel, it is called It's Way Past My Bedtime. I highly recommend watching her videos. The second book that I read for Booktober is Off the Page by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. This book is actually written by a mother-daughter duo, which I think is pretty cool. Writing a book with your mom could have similar interests, I guess. This book is about a storybook prince named Oliver and a young girl named Delilah who falls in love with the storybook prince after finding his book at the library, and she talks to him through the book and falls in love with him and wants to find a way to take him off the page because he also wants to be with her. The problem is they need someone to take Oliver's place in the book because they can't just leave that unfilled. It will disrupt the balance or something like that. So they, for some reason, go to find the author of this book, and they meet her son, Edgar, who looks just like Oliver. So he agrees to take his place in a storybook, because who wouldn't? It's basically like living in a virtual reality or something. You can do whatever you want. You are in a magical world, and he doesn't have much going on, doesn't really have any friends, so he decides to take Oliver's place and have Oliver come out. And they trick his mom into thinking that that's Edgar, so Oliver has to go by the name Edgar and pretend to be him, and it gets crazy, and the mother thinks she's going mad because she's like, oh, this is my son, but he's so different now because, of course, he's a classic storybook prince and not the moody teenager she knows. But basically all these wacky things keep happening, and more characters get out of the book, more characters go in the book, and there's just all this craziness, and Oliver trying to pretend to be a normal high school boy and go to school and pretend that he is Edgar when really he's not, and that's not his world. But it's It's really crazy. There is this one problem that I have with this book where it has miscommunication as a plot device at one point. It's kind of small, but it's still enough that it drove me crazy while reading it, because it's just talk. Just talk. It's a terrible plot device and I hate it. But overall, I think it's a really cute and charming book and I highly recommend Off the Page.